Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. So, this is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug, and I'm coming on with my friend Trina Casey, and she's going to tell you about what she does and what she does, and the book she writes. She's an author and an encourager, and she's going to tell you the rest. So, Trina, by all means, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Trina Casey. I'm here in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I was born and raised in California, though, so I live here now. But yes, I write children's books that are based on teaching emotional intelligence and empathy. Um, my goal is to teach children to understand this real life, and this real life books is the name of the publishing company that I started here. And so, I I started writing these books when my son was little, and my first book is called Galaxy's Well, and that is a book about a princess who finds her true self while going on an adventure in the belly of a whale with her friend Galaxy, the
Oh,
unicorn.
wonderful. That's good stuff. That's real good stuff.
Yeah.
So you moved to so you're from California,
Mhm.
and so you moved to. How long have you been in Amsterdam?
I am going on 3 years now.
Okay, okay. And oh, before I do another thing, thank you because it's 1 o'clock there. So
Yes.
so yeah, so thank you. I was feeling some kind of way today. I thought, but no, she's getting up at 1 o'clock to be with us, so I have to get my act together. So I'm glad you're here. And so tell them. So I told when I introduced you to my public, I was telling them that you will help us when we're relating to our kids, right? Because you talked about child psychology and children and young people, and your books are for children with moral lessons. So talk about that.
Okay. Well, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm studying psychology and neuroscience.
Right.
And it's kind of been my geeky thing for a long time. I'm always been fascinated on how the human brain works. And it's mostly been a part of my own journey to try to figure out myself
Hmm.
and be the best version of myself. So it was the birth of my son that really got me into understanding child psychology. And then what I got from it is that we're all children walking around in adult suits.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
um, what I have found through studying it is that, you know, the traumas between 0 to 7, or everything that you learn between 0 to 7 years old, kind of imprints on you, and this is who you are. You know,
Absolutely.
your brain is in this theta stage for those beginning, and you're just a sponge absorbing all the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful.
Absolutely.
And my goal is to create books that help kids on that journey
Hmm.
so that they can identify with the characters in the book and say, hey, I feel that way sometimes.
Mm.
And and by doing so, I give them a feeling and a voice. You
Yes.
know, the model of this real life books is always speak your truth.
Hmm.
And I think culturally, especially in the Black culture, children are taught to be seen and not heard.
Yes.
And actually, that's an impediment for us as adults because it sets a tone that we don't have a voice.
Mm.
And I'm really doing this with my kids and all kids that I interact with is I want to give them the same type of respect that I want to see.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's how you learn respect. You give respect, you learn respect. And
Right.
so,
It's earned, right? And
right.
so when you talk about that, because I love when you were talking about, you said seven and below, and I've read studies that said as old as 10 and below. And I know for myself, I
Mhm,
lost my mom at 9,
mhm,
so that was traumatic for me, and not really understanding as a child how to process that, and then later in life seeing it replay itself over and over and over again, different situations. I was telling you about my day to day with the death of my brother.
Hmm.
So when you're talking to people, like yesterday, you had a book signing,
Yes, I
and
did.
congratulations on that, ma'am.
Thank you.
Big congratulations on that. So when you're talking to parents about children and trying to help us as adults understand from a child's frame of reference,
Hmm.
what does that look like?
I say go back to you. Go
Mm,
back to your inner child because she's still or he's still there. And all those insecurities that you feel now in adulthood started there. Now
mm,
imagine what your kid is going through. And it's
yes,
not hard to imagine. You just have to be empathetic.
yes.
And so that's really where I start. And I really start with, I'm my long-term goal with this is to create a place where families can get together and work on their traumas as a family because what we do as adults, we pass it on to our kids. And we
Yeah.
don't want to do that. We love our
No,
children.
it's not intentional. Absolutely. It's just we haven't been taught. We
Exactly.
don't know any better. And so once we know better, we do better, right?
Right.
So our traumas as children, I was reading also because I love reading about, trying to figure out myself, but also trying to figure out the world around me.
Wow.
And it talked about PSTD, you know, that a lot of us are walking around as full adults suffering because we never sought treatment for something that happened to us between the age below age 10 or up
Mhm.
to age 10, however that matters.
Yeah.
But we walk around and then we inflict that same pain on our children who inflict the same pain on their children and on and on and on until somebody says, hey, this isn't right. I
Yeah.
need to do something different for a different outcome.
Right. Absolutely. And I think what breaks that cycle is adults being conscious of like, when as soon as I had my son, I said, this is not going to go on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Gonna go on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love
And,
that.
and it takes some deep um, accountability
Mm-hmm.
to do that because I think what we want to do is think, okay, I'm a grown up now. I know it all.
Mm.
And that's not the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. But we do though. We,
You know
but we
what? That's
feel
not the
that way.
truth. It never, and
Yeah.
it never will be the truth. That
No.
right there, that's what how
No.
people shoot themselves in the foot. You know what? You'd be better off listening to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth is that I believe that children come in this world with innate wisdom.
Mm. Mm. And
Until
because it hasn't been jaded yet.
exactly.
It
We
hasn't
call
been jaded by life and problems and circumstances. So it's
absolutely.
pure innocence.
It's pure innocence. It's pretty black and white. I like this. I don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, we don't children don't have that filter that we've
That we've
been
been conditioned to build. Yeah.
conditioned to look through.
Yeah.
And so they say crazy things like, why that person so fat? Or
Yeah.
why this, that, and we're like, shh, you know.
Yeah, exactly. My son actually did that at church. Yeah. So a lady used to
But
pick with him
they don't
and
really see that
yeah,
there's
yeah,
impoliteness and things like that. And it's pure curiosity. So what we end up doing is we end up shaming them for
yeah,
having their own curiosity and expression. And what we want to do is just say, okay, I see where you got that from. I see
mhm,
where you see that because that's pure. Now, I'm going to teach you some empathy around that. Yes, this person doesn't look like you and maybe they are a little bit bigger, but that doesn't matter. Inside of them is a person like you and they have
mm,
feelings.
mm,
And that might hurt their feelings a little bit, you know, but they're just, why would that hurt their feelings? I'm
it,
just stating a
yeah,
fact. What I,
yeah. As they see it, as they
yeah.
see it, and I like the thing that you say. Yeah, we have to teach them the empathy part
Hmm.
because they see what they see, and my granddaughter, I was talking to her the other night, and she just taught. She's learning to form sentences. She's 3. She's learning to form sentences, and just to listen to her talk and express her ideas is just amazing, just amazing. Because she
Yeah.
left here not able to mumble a word, and now she's using full sentences. But I agree with you that from the the perspective of a child, seeing that even the Bible said, except we come as children, right? So even the Bible refers to the innocence of a child and the viewpoints of a child and how we can use our agony. So once we're there, once we, realize, okay, that happened to me, how do I make it happen for me?
Mm-hmm.
How do I turn that energy around?
Yeah, yeah, and that's reflection. That's inner work. That's the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that if you, for example, if you get a child in trauma that's
Mm-hmm.
experienced trauma young enough, they can totally turn that trauma around.
They're resilient, yeah.
And you can do that too as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
but it's much more difficult to turn your trauma around to a positive, turn it from a negative to a positive into power and,
Mm.
and a purpose,
Yes,
and
yes.
that's kind of been what my goal has been, is to take my childhood traumas and make it into something purposeful,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then it just transforms the energy of it, and it's no longer pain, it's
Absolutely.
joy. And
Absolutely.
and it's something, and you're passing that out to everybody, you're reverberating joy
Yeah.
to everybody. And so yeah, that's my goal, because I think that's what we need to do to change the state of the world. And so
Yeah.
starting with children and their families, so
Yeah.
that, you know, you got to be the change you want to see in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be, because what happens is, I mean, today I was in a low place. I've been in a low place, getting ready for this financing thing. And so I made a post. I started to write it in general. And I said, no, I need Ed to know how I feel right now. So I rewrote it to my brother. But, understanding we grew up together. Like, even though we were 10 months apart, we were raised as twins. So,
Mhm.
they call us Irish twins because we were
That's
born the
right.
same year.
I was
Yeah,
going to say
yeah,
10 months apart ain't too, that's really
yeah,
close.
exactly. I know my mom was a champion, wasn't she?
Mhm.
But, um, trying to revert, trying to divert that energy into a positive, like this right here is therapy for me.
Mhm.
Like having this conversation with you and getting myself ready for this interview pulled me out of that despondency place that I was in, that I've been in since yesterday. So it's actually being conscious of, hey, this is where I am, and
Right.
I need to do something to get me to better,
Yeah.
right? Because if we stay there, we stay there, and then life starts showing up. That whole power of attraction. I
Yeah.
love that you said first you recognize the problem, and then you recognize their healing, and you use that for power.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, that's something that right there. That right there is enough to, hey, that's the whole book. That is good stuff. That's good stuff, because it becomes after you first of all realizing that you need healing, but
Mhm.
then how can you take that healing and not just that be the end? You go to therapy, you do all the work, and then that's the end.
Mhm.
It should become your power so that you're able to pull other people out of their despondency as well.
Exactly. I just think that is, I think everybody's goal and purpose, for me, makes that happen. When you discover what your purpose in this world is and what you need to do,
Yeah.
other people are watching you, Um, I've always been a very deep feeler,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and for a long time I tried to shut that off,
Mm.
because it's hurtful, it's messy,
It makes you vulnerable. Yeah.
yeah, it makes you super vulnerable. And after a while, I gotten to this point where I just accepted that
Mm-hmm.
that's who I am. And, people call it empathic, you
Yeah.
know, and that's who I am. And I've helped a lot of people that way, whether
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of it or not.
Yeah. Well, today
You
you helped me. But
Well,
put
and
me.
I think that if that's where we're we're placing ourselves with that intent to heal,
Yes.
you know, I used to teach English as a second language in Italy and in Indonesia
Mm-hmm.
and in the States. And so I used to say to my students, when I remind you, I remind myself.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. We're connected in that way, you know. So when we focus our energies in that way, nothing but positivity can come out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's good stuff. That's good
Mhm.
stuff. And it's in our, because we find healing for ourselves as we seek to heal help others toward their healing as well. That's good stuff.
Exactly. I like this that you do not have to be perfect to help someone else.
Absolutely.
You do not need to be healed to help somebody else.
No.
It's all that process
Yeah.
that makes you better.
It's a
So,
journey. It's a
mm,
journey, right? Yeah,
yeah.
because, you know, regardless of where you are, there's people ahead of you and there's
Hmm.
people behind you.
Hmm.
And so in finding your healing, you can definitely become a testament for the people behind you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I was listening to Oprah's latest book that she had written, and she has all these people that have collaborated with her on this book.
Yeah.
And I was just listening to how they were pouring out their souls and how
Hmm.
they were just saying, we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Exactly. I believe that.
Yeah,
Believe.
absolutely. So, it's where we have the commonalities, where we can meet and be agreeable in the same space.
Mm-hmm.
That's what brings us closer, realizing that there's no you or them, me or them. It's just us.
Hmm.
And it's all of us in all our dramas, our lifespans, our everything.
We're connected in that journey together. We've always been connected, and from whatever life to the next, you'll still be connected. I always say, my son told me when he was little, Mom, I was waiting for you.
Mm.
And I said, "You're waiting for me?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, I was waiting for you." And then I was like, "Okay, what does that mean to you?" It means like I was waiting for you to be my mommy, and I chose
Oh,
you to be my mommy. And I always felt that way. I
yeah.
always felt that way. I went through some really tough times, and I was like, I didn't even think I would ever have a kid at that
Mm.
point. And I'm going through a separation, and it's been rough, and I've been so worried about him and everything. And he has his days, but for the most part, he's good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Love.
See, I went through that with my oldest one. It seems like I was born the next day he came.
Mhm.
Because we're so close in age. It's like we grew up together, and we did. My father was father for both of us growing
Mhm.
up. And looking at him, that was the thing, is I've strived very hard with my second set of children who are 10 years younger than him. I've
Mhm.
tried to keep them out of adult situations so that they could um, learn, heal, and be children and have a
Mhm.
full childhood, because I believe a lot of men don't get to have that. Like,
Absolutely.
they go straight from you're a child, now that your father's not present, you become the man of the house, and all that manliness. And
Yeah.
they never get a chance to be the child, so they get stuck there. And
Well.
so, you know, I truly, with my younger set, I truly tried to shield them from the majority of the pains of the separation that I went through when they
Mhm.
were kids. And I think in doing that, I took hits that I didn't have to take. When they became adults, we had the conversations, and they were like, "Oh wow, oh, we thought you were this way," and they now realize they have kids. My middle one has children, my oldest one has children. Now they realize she shielded us from a lot. Because as mothers, that's what we do. We don't want our kids to hurt, you know?
We don't. And I think one of the mistakes that we can do is not speak truthfully to our children.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think, you know, trying to cover up pain,
Mm.
it it depends on what it is. I'm not going to say it's not necessary. It might be necessary, but you should always allow your child to go through their emotions and
Yeah.
sit with them.
Absolutely.
And I think that being truthful about the way the world is, and I think that as um, Black people, we don't have much choice in that when it's our children and our sons. Part of the reason why I moved from the United States was because the current climate, and I just wanted my kid to be a kid.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I
get
didn't
it. Yeah.
I didn't want him to be stressed out about, the color of his skin so much. I mean, you can't escape it; it's everywhere. But at least here, he's 8, and he's seen as 8. He's
Mm.
not seen as a threat or a man already, like you mentioned, and I think that has to do with a lot of the history in
Hmm.
the United States. But
Yeah.
I
I,
really,
I it's important. I mean, you want them to feel like you said, and you want them to be able to process their emotions.
mhm.
And that was the good thing in that I have 3 boys. I had my first one when I was 14. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
Yeah.
he's the one I wrote the book about, and he's now 45. So with him and I, we grew up like friends because for a long time it was just the two of us against the world, right? My dad was the patriarch for both of us, but my dad took him under his wing at a certain point. But up until that point, just trying to make sure he was grounded, making sure that he saw the world. Because what I remember is in my book, I talk about when my mom lived. Like I said, she died when I was 9. She left us vulnerable in the kind of in because she was so cuddling and she was so nurturing that she us being kids and she didn't realize that we needed both sides of the world to be whole. So it,
Mhm.
it made us vulnerable
Mhm.
because there were a lot of things that we were old enough to know that we simply just didn't know. A lot of negative things that we
Mhm.
were old enough to know how to navigate, and we
Mhm.
just didn't because we didn't have those life experiences.
Yeah, you were sheltered, very
Yeah,
sheltered.
very
But you
sheltered.
know what's beautiful is
It
that
was
you
good.
got
Yeah.
all that love. You
Oh
got all
yeah.
that
Oh
cuddling.
yeah. Absolutely.
Because a lot of kids, once they get to a certain age, and they start, digging in and start saying what they want to do and all that stuff.
Yeah. The teen years.
Yeah, before the teens.
Oh yeah, nowadays, yeah, nowadays it's like preteen, around about 11 or 12.
Exactly. Well, my son is 8 and he's
Oh,
already
oh,
talking about,
he's already there. Oh no,
yes,
it's getting
he
younger.
yes, he's talking about, I'm halfway to a teenager. I'm more than half to a
Oh,
teenager.
oh
And
no.
and I'm laughing. I go, what do you think that means? He goes, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And I said, oh really? Okay, you're gonna do what you want to do. All right. What does that mean? It's always an interesting dialogue, but
Absolutely.
um I if you look at your child with wonder
Mm,
and not as a burden, I
yeah,
think that is the
yeah,
most
absolutely, absolutely.
important thing. Because as life, when we become those adult children, we got all these responsibilities
Yeah,
that push us out of our wonderment.
yeah.
And uh, I make myself sit, and
Mm.
sometimes he says, Mom, why are you staring at me?
Because you're in wonderment. You're like, wow.
Wow, I'm like, wow, like I
Yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah.
this and I remember that. And I'm like watching him and he's like, why are you staring at me, Mom? And I just say, because I love you, And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, Mom. He's already
But
at
that's
that age.
amazing, right? And that's what I tried with the first one. I was so young when I had him
You
that I
were still
made,
a baby.
yeah, I made triple mistakes. Okay, but with the second ones, I tried to do things to enlighten their lives and to keep them enhanced. So they went to we call it arts and sciences. It was a Padaya
Mm-hmm.
school here, and the one thing that I wanted them to have is to be able to think critically, because
Excellent.
I didn't want them to be have groupthink. Right? It
Right.
was important for me for them to speak 3 languages. So I made them trilingual, if that's a thing. I
Yes, it
made them
is.
because I wanted them to speak to me, but to be able to speak with their friends. I didn't want them to be singled out to be nerdish or whatever to get attacked. And then
Hmm.
I also wanted them to speak professionally to any adult, any authority figure. So trying to
Okay.
get them to do the 3 things. In addition, they learn French. They know French. I don't. But but getting them to understand that in life you had to be more than one dimensional.
Yes, you're multifaceted. The more facets you have, the more advantages you have actually, because
Absolutely.
you can flow in and out of situations easier than if you are very stuck in a frame of thinking. And so
Absolutely.
critical thinking, and that's part of the thing that I'm teaching with my books, so I'm trying to get through with my books, is how to think about situations from other people's perspectives. And that
Mm-hmm.
really does create empathy,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't be empathetic if you don't understand, you
Right.
know?
And yet, what I find is people who have traveled outside of the United States or even outside of their state
Mhm.
tend to be more receptive to the differences of others when they've been around other people
Absolutely.
than those who have never left the confines of their environment.
Right.
When you travel the world and you see different people, you are introduced to different cultures. It seems like it makes you more, I don't know, more lightened, more, I don't know what the word is, more intentional in appreciating differences.
Absolutely. I ever since I was a little girl, I craved differences. And it's interesting, at my book reading yesterday, an older gentleman asked me, so you said you're not from here, older Dutch man. And I said, no. He goes, where are you from? I said, oh, I'm from California. Oh, I've been there. Well, why would you leave there? And it was such a funny question to me, because I said, because I can't imagine just staying there. And that was the truth. Because I remember as young as 5 years old, I was looking at the Wind and Fire album cover going, I want to go here, Egypt. I was drawn to the pyramids. And years and years had gone by, and I had gone everywhere else. And just this last year, me and my son in February went together.
Mm,
Me and him went for the
wow.
first time, and it was amazing. It was just
Wow.
like a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to be Egyptologist, I studied Egypt.
Okay. Okay.
And for him to be on that journey, just me and him together, it was special to me.
I'm sure. I am sure. I've asked my youngest son. We had planned. He's been to Europe. I have not. And
Mhm.
so our plan was when we graduated, because we graduated around the same time, him coming out of college, and then me getting my second degree were around the same time. And we talked about seeing Europe together. You
Mhm.
know, and that's I still so I can appreciate that you and your son went. I look forward. I love traveling with my kids. I do, and
It-
yeah, this time, well, next month I'm actually going to Africa. I'm
I
going to,
saw that. I saw.
yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to Cameroon. But then my cousin, she's going with me, and we were trying to map out which way to go. What did we want to do? And
Mhm.
we decided that we would go to Casablanca.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, so we have a 7 hours layover in Casablanca
That's gonna be.
because even though the movie wasn't there, but it was about that city, right? And the experience. So they've created Rick's Cafe. I cannot wait to go to Rick's Cafe so that I can be in the whole, because they have recreated the
Yeah.
movie in the
Yeah. They made it a big tourist spot.
it is, and so here's going to be a tourist there. So I told
Yeah.
my cousin, and then there's some things that she wants to see too. But I can't imagine not not leaving and going somewhere to see other people, to meet other people. I've
Yeah.
done that all my life, traveling, going to different places. A lot of them were in the States, but now that I'm doing the international thing, so who knows? I may be. You may look up. I'm in Amsterdam, right?
Oh, you're quite welcome. Come visit. It. I feel like my son has been very blessed because we have traveled a lot with him,
Yeah, travel
and
is important.
And I just think that once you get over the fear, and that's what it is. Unfortunately, in the US, there's a lot of fear mongering.
Yeah.
And that it's a shame,
It is.
because the truth is, right now, when I went to Egypt, his father was a little bit like, is that safe? And we looked it up on the internet, all the different categories and what's going on, because you can look and see where the
Right.
safe
You can. The warning. Yeah, the travel advisor.
and at the moment, Egypt is safer than the United States.
Wow.
And that was like, wow, to me, that the amount of violent crimes and things like that are so much lower in a country that has been stigmatized by US and Americans. So I encourage people to go places where they think it may be dangerous. It's usually going to be the safest and more comfortable more comfortable than you think, and people are nice and helpful, and it's common sense. Just use common sense and you're all right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because anywhere you travel, you have to be aware of where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be present. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't go and just, here's all the money I got, and here's,
Yeah.
you can't do that anywhere. But when you understand how to travel, and the travel, I travel with a purpose. Like most times, I'm going to see something or going to experience something, and I'm going there purposefully. But then I enjoy the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Even getting there is a journey within itself. And so I'm
That's
looking
life.
forward to Morocco. I don't know how many people that know me that have been to Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know who I can use for a reference, to say, I mean, okay, what should I do? Because I posted that the other night. I didn't get not one response. But but that's okay. That's okay. But
That's
we
okay. That means that you need to do it on your own then.
yeah. Pretty much we're on our own. But my cousin and I, we've been, looking at different things and videos and sharing information and stuff. In fact, she shared the travel advisory website so that we could see what's going on in both places that we're going. But
Right.
I just think that helps the children too.
Yep.
Like all of my boys have lived outside the United States for at least 20 days,
Yeah.
and I wanted them to have a global education because I think that's important. I
Yep.
think that if we as parents can give them as much in this many experiences instead of stuff,
Yeah.
you know, the,
Amen on that.
yeah, the experiences
Yes,
they'll remember for lifetime, right?
they really
Find
will.
some-
And even if it doesn't seem like it at the moment, because they're being children, like my son, we have those talks about gratitude. And one of the things I highly recommend that you do, and try to be as consistent as possible, but not in a punitive way, is getting your children to write down what they're grateful for.
Mm,
You start this young, like my son, we have a gratitude jar. And what we try to do is we're sitting at the table together. I go, oh, we haven't written in the gratitude jar for a while. So let's write down 3 to 5 things that we're grateful for. And then we stick it in this jar. And at the end of the year, on New Year's, we're going to open it up and read all the things that we were grateful for the year. Because the stuff and the media and the tech, all that stuff gets you out of gratitude very quickly.
yeah.
And and I think with the last generation before after me, no, after me, because I'm older than I look.
Me too. So
Black don't crack. But I feel like they have such a strong sense of entitlement,
yeah.
and that's because they've lacked gratitude for what they have gotten, or they don't see it at all. You know what I mean? It's just been very easy. They don't know what it's like to ever have a rotary phone or to have to go to a phone booth. They have had these devices since they were born,
Yeah.
and they don't know what the little
How we got here.
inconveniences and
Yeah.
struggles are. And also they don't know what it's like to have that off their shoulders, that constant connection to technology. And you know, on my website at thisreallifebooks.com, I write blogs and I write different articles about different things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I talked about, I wrote a poem called Sail Connection or something like that. And, and it talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about, you know, being disconnected, how disconnected we are because of technology.
Yeah.
It's a, you know, it's a beautiful, it can be such a positive thing.
Oh yeah.
Because now we see so much of what's happening in the rest of the world. And if you're not going to go out into that world, at least you can see it. But at the same time, it's also taking away your need to push out the, you know, and go out and
Go out, right? It's important to
connect.
go out because what you have is. So I have an experience of a young lady who hadn't been out in 30 years,
Yeah.
but she thinks she's up to date. But time has moved,
Mm-hmm.
and things have moved, and people have moved, practices have moved, and so trying to get someone who doesn't come out to understand. Oh no, it may have been true back then,
Right.
but let me tell you what's happening today.
Right.
Trying to get them to make that change
Yeah.
it's a
Difficult.
struggle. It's a deep struggle. So that's
Yeah.
why it's important for us to come out. It's okay to be connected to your internet world, your world inside of whatever.
Yeah.
But it is very important that you come outside and that you understand that the life is out here, like with the
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
relationships and all
I
of that.
honestly think that energy is the most important thing.
Mm.
And I think that one of the things that makes me kind of sad is when I'll go out for coffee or something like that, and people are together, but they're just look staring at their phones,
Mm,
like
yeah.
couples and friends. And I'm like, man, I used to be sitting there talking to my friend. I didn't look at my phone not once because I was so connected to the conversation. And that's what we need to get back to.
Yeah, I consciously, if I have it with me, I
Mhm.
consciously turn it over to the back
Yeah,
and just leave it there.
yeah,
Because I mean, because of what I do, I sometimes have to have it with me,
right.
but I don't want it to infringe upon the experience I'm having with another person.
Exactly.
So for that reason, if I have it, I turn it face down.
May I say to the people, please do this with your children.
Oh
Please
yeah,
leave your phone downstairs away from you when you're with your kid, because I will tell you from personal experience, because of, you know, my son's father is very much connected to his phone all the time. And then I am now in the position of starting my own business. And so I find myself staring at it or needing to
yeah,
do
yeah.
something for work. And they see it.
They
They
do.
see it and they like, he's like, well, why can't I have one? Because he doesn't have one. And I said, because Steve Jobs and Bill Gates didn't give their kids any technology, and you don't need it either. But it doesn't fly. It doesn't
He's
fly.
like, who is Bill Gates?
Exactly. Who's been that computer, that you want to stare at? That's Bill Gates. Um, but the point is that they feel the disconnection.
They
And
do.
so I posted not too long, speaking of internet, I posted something that said, when your child, when you instead of thinking your child is attention seeking, turn it around and to connection seeking,
Mm.
because that's what they're actually want. I asked my son, I said, do you want my attention or do you want connection? He goes, connection, mom. And I said, okay, absolutely. Because it totally changes things
Yeah, they
around
want to
in your
connect with
mind.
you. Yeah, they
Yeah.
want to connect with you. They want
Yeah.
to have a relationship with you, and that's a good thing because those years go by too fast.
Too fast.
They go by too fast. You look up and then they're grown already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So that's a good thing. That is
yeah.
being intentional in how we communicate with our children, and especially you parents who have young people below the ages of 10,
Yes.
especially. But also, if you have teens, just be in a place where they can talk. Because what I so I'm not dealing so much with teens anymore, but
Mhm.
I have friends that do. And some of the number one thing that seems to be repetitive in those who deal with teens is their parents won't talk to them, or they
Yeah.
can't hold a conversation. Because when I talk to her, she gets mad at me. Or when I talk to him, he gets
Mhm.
mad at me.
Yeah.
And I think that if we're going to raise holistic children, we have to understand the power in listening.
Right, right. And I'm guilty of this because especially if you're one of those parents that just you want to them to get it. You don't want them to make the same mistakes as you do or you did, and you become the lesson giver all the time
Mm.
and the teacher all the time, and that's not what they want. They just want you to listen. And my son's told me, Mom, I'm going to tell you something, but I don't want you to get mad.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah.
I said, why do you think I'm gonna get? Because you're gonna tell me something, aren't you? Like he's got my number. He's like, you gonna give me some type of lesson, you know? And I go, okay, I'm not going to give you a lesson. But see, my son has the voice
Yeah,
to call me out.
yeah,
Like, and that's what I mean. It's like no parent has this down.
yeah,
I don't even try to pretend that I am walking perfection with parenting, anything, with anything. So, what I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to give the perspective to people who don't even think about it
yeah.
in that
Yeah,
way.
absolutely. Because mine are grown, and I'm still trying. I mean, like, okay, my son is 45. What does that mean? Talking to him, and then my
He's
youngest.
grown.
I know. He always say that. They fired me one time. I have to tell you about that. My boys fired me. They held a meeting. So we have family meetings. And I tell people about this. We had family meetings, and my boys fired me as mom. We don't need your mother, which was really funny. It hurt my feelings. It made me cry.
Oh,
I'm your mama. You don't need me. But God told me to go back and tell them they couldn't fire me from a job they didn't give me. And so,
exactly.
so ever since then, they're very clear. I'm mother from now on. That's my job. They didn't give it to me, so they can't take it away. But
Yeah.
then they found in life that, oh yeah, we still need you around. We still need you around. We still have to
Yeah.
have to get your advice every now and then and stuff. So you're
What
okay.
they
You're
what
okay with
they
mine.
really meant was, Mom, we appreciate and love you, but you need to back off a
Back
bit.
off, because I still want to talk to them when I see them, and you know how it is. Because I have my expectations of them has always been high.
Yeah.
I expected my boys to be something different in life, simply because I poured into them every way I could,
Wow.
and I know what they're capable of. I've seen their potential long before they found it. I've
Yeah.
seen it, and so I hold them to a higher regard. And with that, when they are grown, the final decisions are all theirs.
Yeah.
Whatever they do is it's all theirs. I am having to learn to accept their decisions as their decisions to make.
Yep. Yep. That's it.
And
And you
so
know what?
even like I say, that's why I say even grown, you still have to always learn how you as a parent interacts with your children
Yeah, because it's changing all the time.
all the
And if
time.
you don't evolve with your children as they evolve, you're going to
Yeah,
have conflict.
yeah,
You're going to have
yeah.
conflict with your
I mean,
children.
the worst place in world to me is to know that I'm a parent and my kids can't come to me, or that
Yeah.
they're not speaking to me, or that they feel some kind of way, that we don't have that open line of communication. That has been important to me their entire lives. That
Yeah.
we're able to talk, that we're able to, recognize I'm going to always be mother. You're going to
Mhm.
always be my son, and that I'm not speaking to my mom. I'm not speaking to my son. I don't subscribe to any of that because life is too short.
Well, that's a sad, and it's unfortunately it's a sad dynamic that I've seen play out. And what it really what it is, and what this is what I've seen. And I'm so happy you said that because I see this with a lot of Black mothers, is they say things like, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. Or, um, uh, you know what, I'm always gonna be the boss, or things like that. And they disempower their children, and they shut off communication that way. They shut off trust. They're so embedded in the hierarchy rather than the connection. And that's a quick way to shut down, like, okay, I don't want to talk to my mom because she doesn't hear me. She's not listening. And that's what I say. You have to evolve with your child. Yes, there is a time when you are the boss, because you have to keep them alive. But when they get to, 8, 9, 10, like my child is right now, I have to pull back and say, okay, what is he really saying? Okay, he's saying he needs some autonomy. Okay, all right, I need to give him some space. I need to get, you know what I mean? You have to do these things, or you'll end up having a negative relationship moving forward, a traumatic one too.
And you don't want that.
No.
I mean, more important to me than any other relationships I have is the relationship with my boys. I mean, that trumps everything.
Yeah.
I will not be where I can't reach out and talk to my son. I will not be where they can't reach out and touch to me. That just makes craziness to me.
No, it's bad. It's not good. It's not helpful for
good.
anybody.
It's not good. So I am going to thank you for allowing me to interrupt your Sunday at 1 a.m. This is Monday.
It's Monday now.
It was so fun, and we talked about the date change because
I was like, wait a minute, I'm confused. Wait, oh yeah.
I was like, oh, you're in the 16th. I'm in the 15th still.
Yeah.
But you're gonna look. I look forward to you having many of these, uh, possibly in your timeline, in your time zone. But thank you for this conversation. So please tell my followers, my friends, my family, how can they get access to your books?
Oh, let me show you real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
I didn't really think about that until right now, but here's the book, Galaxy's Well.
Okay.
And you can get Galaxy's Well anywhere where you buy books, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere, anywhere. And I just recently wrote this book called I Love Pink.
Okay.
A trans tale. And the reason why I wrote this book, and it is about a trans little girl, is because there's a lot of little people out there not feeling they can be themselves.
Yeah.
And they grow up to being adults not feeling like they can be selves. And this book is not just about trans and that. It's about the journey of being different. Being different and being bullied for it. And we all can relate to that, whether it's gender, color, race, it doesn't matter. We all have been through that experience. And then having a best friend support us through it and hold our hand, and you hold their hand. It's about friendship. It's about all that. And so this is my new baby. And this is
what is your website?
It's thisreallifebooks.com. You still there? Hello? I think I lost you, but it's thisreallifebooks.com. And there, like I said, you can see all of the books there. You can purchase them from there as well, and also articles and info about emotional intelligence and empathy, and teaching our children to love themselves and be brave enough to do that. And thank you for having me on on your show. I lost you here.